Clack, clack, clack. Clack, clack, clack. I can't play action games. I'm not for them, they're not for me. I don't remember how to play this game at all. Oh, I don't have a gun. Oh my gosh, he's still alive. Oh wait, no, is he dead? What the crap just happened? Oh my gosh!
Mission in Section F.
What the crap? Oh my gosh! Oh jeez! I didn't know that was gonna bother you so much. It's because I killed your boyfriend, huh? That feels good. That is fun. I'm lacking some serious brain functionality.
christiangeekcentral.com.
Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, continuing my series of reaction videos to the press conferences and showcases of E3 2018. This time we come to Sony. Now, I am a PlayStation fan or owner, I guess I should say, and so I was very curious about what they were going to be doing this year. I'm seeing a pattern now in these conferences where there's less talking and more games. The problem is the way that they show those games is as trailers or gameplay without user interface or commentary of any kind. As a result, we're seeing footage that, represents the visual and auditory feel of a game, but doesn't clearly represent how that game is actually played. This is really strange to me in this conference in particular because Sean Layden, head honcho of PlayStation's US wing, seemed to indicate prior to this event that this event, and I think even when he was talking to some co-hosts at a break point, seemed to be indicating that this event would be about going deeper into games that we already know about. We saw new footage, but I wouldn't call the experience one that took us much deeper into what these games are or whatever. I hate this trend, but I think I get it. Maybe the intent is to simply create hype as they kick off E3 through uninformative spectacle, and then hope that the audience is motivated by that experience to go and investigate the games that interest them. And I get that. You can't do a deep dive on all these games. That's what the gameplay stations are for on site at E3, so that people maybe get, who are getting wowed by, oh my gosh, Ghost of Tsushima, I really want to check that one out especially. Then they can go have a 30-minute or whatever deep dive at a demo station or whatever is going on at E3 that I'm not really familiar with. So I can see how maybe this would be part of the overall strategy for their week at E3, but just for me as a viewer, I miss when conferences took deep dives more often into games and had developers providing commentary. You don't have to go to the trouble of making like a fake, really scripted demo, but just show footage of the game being played, even if it's edited up, and have some dev kind of talking us through it. I think that Todd Howard does this pretty well. He, with the Bethesda games, he doesn't, always do them live. In fact, he rarely does. Usually he's talking over pre-recorded gameplay footage. So anyway, I'd love to see that at Sony. Didn't get that at Sony. Their approach definitely allows more games to get more exposure, but I still miss having the devs talk me through gameplay demos. I guess I'll just have to look for something like that in the media outlet coverage throughout this week. All that to say that the Sony conference was, for me, a disappointing clip show that only rarely communicated info about how the featured games are actually played. First, I'm going to go through my jaded predictions and unrealistic wishes that I made in a video a couple weeks ago. And I'll go through which ones came true and which ones didn't, and then I'll talk about some highlights of the show. First off, of my jaded predictions, number one, we either won't get any useful info about what playing Death Stranding will be like, or we will, and it will turn out to be a social media-based game, as some vague references have implied. This one did come true in that the first part came true. We won't get any useful information about what playing Death Stranding will be like. You could argue that maybe we did, but it's not clear to me exactly what was going on. I'll talk about Death Stranding in a little bit. That's one of my highlights. I'll circle back around to that. But I would argue that we didn't get any really useful information about what playing Death Stranding will be like. My second jaded prediction, Ghost of Tsushima will turn out to be way too artsy and niche for my tastes. No, and I was a little surprised by that, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe it will turn out to be that way. There's so much I don't know about this game. I wish they would have told me. Anyway, so that one did not come true. And number 3, the majority of the time will be spent on The Last of Us Part 2. No, that was definitely not the case. I think I forgot to. I just assumed after last week, after last year, them going so heavy on the trailers and then maybe getting some criticism from that they would be a little bit more like hands-on demo style this time around. I did not anticipate that they would basically do the same thing that they did last year. So, oof, man. My wishes, unrealistic though they were number 1, Death Stranding will turn out to be my kind of game. Maybe some sort of experience taking cues from BioShock. Well, it still may turn out to be my kind of game, but it hasn't yet. Number 2, Spider-Man will get a deep dive exploration of its gameplay and serve me no red flags in the form of timed missions or other insta-fail scenarios. Well, we definitely didn't get any kind of deep dive exploration of Spider-Man. Number 3, I wished that they would make Spider-Man a game where it's fun and easy to be Spider-Man in an open world and give it some great character-driven storytelling as icing on the cake. No, that may be the case. In fact, I think there are hints of that in what I learned from Game Informer, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but no indications of that necessarily here. And then number 4, my last wish, disc-based PS2 backwards compatibility or some other way I can perpetually enjoy the more quirky or license-based PS2 games unlikely to be remastered. Not only was that not granted as a wish, I don't think they really talked hardly at all, if at all, about really like service type things that are associated with the PlayStation hardware. It was really just about the games. So yeah, I think PS Plus was briefly mentioned as, oh yeah, and here's a free PS Plus download game or something like that, but that was the closest they came to talking about their infrastructure. Anyway, The Last of Us, I'll go through kind of like my highlights now. The Last of Us wasn't my kind of gameplay, so I didn't get very far. Very far in that first game, and I have no interest in the second one, so I'm not going to talk about that really until the end. I have some thoughts. The first title that really caught my attention was Ghost of Tsushima, or Tsushima. I've heard it pronounced 2 ways by different commentators and people, so I'm not sure which one. Aesthetically, I'm ready for this game. I didn't think I would be, as I don't have any interest in Japanese history or mythology, but the visual design of the world was beautiful and stylishly orchestrated, and the sound design had all those subtle bits that I like so much when it comes to foliage and crunching boots, you know. What I wanted was some user interface elements. I mean, is there a health bar in this game, or is this like Bushido Blade, where you basically die if you get hit once? I want nothing to do with a game like that. What about that slow motion mode that kicked in now and then? Is that something that I can trigger, or that happens when I'm positioned in a certain way with my enemy, or does it just happen at times I won't be able to anticipate? All the beauty in visual and sound design won't give you my wallet until I know whether or not I even have a chance of rolling credits on this game. I suck at action games and have no tolerance for frustration in my gameplay, so I like to get a lot of information or a less than $5 price point before I'm willing to risk buying any game that requires hand-eye coordination and quick thinking. So with this game, Ghost of Tsushima, I am very curious but very skeptical until I have some more key information. The next game to grab me was Death Stranding. Still no user interface on the screen for this game, but arguably some gameplay. We saw a digital Norman Reedus do a lot of walking in a lot of places, apparently to deliver packages by foot for some reason in this strange post-apocalyptic world. I'm thinking, okay, I get that maybe cars have broken down. Is nobody doing horses anymore? Or like, anyway, I'm sure there's a rationalization for it in the story. I never touched the Metal Gear Solid games that Hideo Kojima, the developer of this game, is really famous for and that people just praise him for. And it's those games that are the reason that people are really excited about Death Stranding. but I didn't play those games. I really want nothing to do with those games because I know enough about their gameplay to be like, that's not for me. And so I don't have that credit. That's getting me trusting Kojima and excited about just whatever he puts his mind to. So if anything, I'm actually more skeptical that I'll enjoy this game now after seeing this footage. At the end of the gameplay footage that they showed, it looked like there was a stealth sequence going on. And when the hero was spotted, what happened? Near instant death. I freaking hate that kind of insta-fail stealth gameplay. Give me a chance to fight my way out if I'm spotted. That's what I appreciate about the Far Cry games or Assassin's Creed when they're not doing their really... they can do some dumb insta-fail missions too, but in the open world anyway. So really, that's really what I want. I want, stealth is cool, but don't have me be killed instantly or the mission fail and I reload. I mean, don't make one wrong move on my part cause me to have to go back and repeat game material. If you do that, I'm not touching what you're selling. That's just the end of it. Now it still looks like this world and whatever's going on in it is totally my thing. This really dark, weird, kind of alien stuff. I'm totally down for that. And maybe I'll end up watching someone's movie cut of the game on YouTube one day. But until this game demonstrates that it is not going to have gameplay tropes that frustrate me, I'm not going to set myself up for frustration and wasted money. Finally, Spider-Man for the PS4 was given a nice long slice to show gameplay and even included a few button prompts here and there. It looks really cool and it looks tons of fun to just kind of whip around on webs and fight the bad guys. But honestly, I only feel that way watching this footage because of what I learned from Game Informer's coverage, where they went in depth on how web traversal works and how combat works. Knowing that going into this is what made me watch this informed, no pun intended, about what this game is and how it plays so that I could appreciate and kind of imagine what was going on and how the game was being played in the demo footage, So, I really became more interested in playing this game because of Game Informer than from watching this demo footage. That said, there is a great moment where Spider-Man in this demo is actually being totally beat down by a group of villains, leading to a reveal of someone off camera that Spidey is shocked to see, but the audience doesn't see. And that moment, that kind of moment, just confirmed what I'd already heard from Game Informer, that this game's story will create drama by forcing a clash between Peter Parker's personal life and his life as Spider-Man. The best Spider-Man stories, many fans would agree, are the ones where Peter has personal stakes involved, not just physical challenges. And that's the kind of story that I might actually get invested in. Okay, so before I wrap up, I want to rewind back to the start of the showcase and react to some interesting elements involving the preview footage for The Last of Us Part 2 and its incorporation of LGBT themes. The scene starts up and we see the character Ellie, who returns from the first game and who was established to be either a lesbian or bisexual previously in the series. From what I gather, it wasn't strongly and undeniably stated. I don't know for sure. That's just kind of little bits that I've read here and there. But it was the intent of the writer and those involved in creating her scenes and her character that she be understood, or that in their minds they were clearly approaching her as though she were lesbian or bisexual. So now in this scene we see her dancing in a church setting in the post-apocalypse, and there's this dramatic cinematic weight given to a kiss between her and another girl, as opposed to just being like a brief affectionate kiss that's just like, oh, whatever, It's a very significant kiss between two women in a church building with at least one cross visible in the background, not during the kiss, but my point is there's evidence that this is specifically a Christian church of some kind. Now, I have no idea what the intent is in creating a scene like this, so I may be setting up and interacting with a straw man here, so I want to be clear on that. But for the sake of exercise, I'm going to do it anyway with that disclaimer. My personal impression is that the scene is at least in part thematically conveying the message that, hey, the world has gone to crap, so our divisions over these little issues like homosexual relationships aren't important anymore, so much so that this significant moment celebrating homosexual love can be ironically celebrated even in this setting once committed to teaching that would have condemned this behavior. Now, if that's the case, if that was kind of like some of the idea floating around and driving the intent of parts of this scene, then it strikes me as being part of what I would call a normalization strategy on the part of some in the LGBT movement, wherein homosexual characters and romances are portrayed as unquestioned and normal in fiction to help acclimate the consumer to homosexuality. Now, this strategy will work with someone whose moral compass is relativistic and simply produced by their own heart, their own thoughts, but it won't work among those who consider the Bible to be God's authoritative word for us today. For those Christians, the LGBT supporter or activist needs to undermine the reliability of biblical inspiration and show that we have more reasons than not to treat the Bible as non-authoritative. And I'm wondering if many in that movement realize that this is the case. It will be interesting to see if they ever realize that collectively and begin a strategy, to that effect. Of course, if they never feel the need to undermine the authority of the Bible, then that may actually say something discouraging about how little the Bible is treated as authoritative among Christians. I can't help but wonder, as attendance of biblically liberal Christian churches has plummeted in the last 10 to 15 years, those churches that would tend to kind of treat the Bible as all being poetic language that you can kind of interpret largely however you want, whatever is feels good to you or whatever, that's oversimplifying the interpretive framework there, but that seems to be the gist of kind of what I would call a liberal interpretation of the Bible. But the kinds of like mainline denominations that have taken that kind of view, their attendance has really been plummeting in the last 10 to 15 years, whereas those churches that tend to be more focused on interpreting the Bible literally as it's intended, in the various literary genres in which it's written, in its historical and linguistic context, those kinds of churches are seeing growth now over the last 10 to 15 years. So anyway, I can't help but wonder as that's going on in the world of Christianity, if this kind of normalization strategy is working in a sense and actually helping to identify and separate those who only nominally identify with Christ from those who are genuinely trying to understand and be subject to His Word. Anyway, that's a crazy rabbit trail, a very sticky topic. I'm not looking to start anything that's kind of heated here, but anyway, if anybody wants to, shoot me an email, you can reach me at paeter@spiritblade.com, and we can talk about this topic or anything else on your mind. Anyway, yeah, crazy rabbit trail. I probably gave way too much time to that, but I kind of feel like, if the guys making Christian content for geeks don't talk about this stuff, then no one else will. So there you have it. At the end of the day, normalization strategy intended or not, The Last of Us Part 2 is still not my kind of game based on the gameplay of the first one in the series, but I think Spider-Man might be, so I'm looking forward to that. Stay tuned. I'll be sharing my thoughts on Nintendo coming up next. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Let's begin.
Burn, ungodly filth!
What do you want? To make you ours or to make you despair?
Spirit Blade Productions presents...
Do you have any idea how much I will make you suffer? The horrific agony that I will inflict.
Spirit Blade, Dark Ritual.
Hell will be a refuge for you when I'm finished.
For more information, visit spiritblade.com.